Hey
Okay.
YouTube, it's Monica, and today I'm really excited because we're going to chat with Elizabeth. She's a fellow homeschooler, and she's also a blogger over at modernhippiemommy.com, so go check it out. And thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you and share what we do.
Yay! So let's just start with how many kids do you have, and how old are they, so we can give people an idea of where you're at in the whole homeschooling journey.
Sure. My oldest is 8 years old, 8.5, and he's in third grade. There he is. My middle one is 7, so he's in first grade. And my baby is 2.5, so he's just doing toddler kind of things. So
Okay, cool. And have you always homeschooled them, or were they ever like in a more traditional school setting?
I've always homeschooled them, but I do homeschool with a public charter school that has no classroom time. So basically, they help me with curriculum, paying for curriculum and classes, and then I do all the stuff myself. I started out doing a hybrid charter school program where they spent 2 days a week, or actually it was only one at the time, my oldest, where he spent 2 days a week in the classroom and then the rest being homeschooled. But I found that it just didn't really work for us because it was too weird to have 2 days of like traditional public school and then switch to homeschooling. I just felt like it didn't really make sense. And we
Hmm.
couldn't individualize it very much that way. It was a classroom based thing. So everybody's taught on the same level regardless of ability or interest or whatever. So we only did that for about 3 months before we decided that wasn't for us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what made you want to homeschool to begin with? And I get this question a lot.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting because I can see the gears turning in people's head. They're like, well, I can see why someone would want to pull their kid out of school. Maybe they were bullied or they didn't like this, the educational experience. But then they're like, but why would you just want to do it from the very beginning? So why
Yeah.
why did you want to homeschool?
Yeah, I mean, I ironically started out very anti-homeschool. I had no intention of doing it whatsoever. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't interested in doing it. The thought of doing it made me not happy at all. Um, but then I did my homework. Like I do my homework about everything. Like instead of just saying, "Oh, that's what we're going to do no matter what," I did my research. So I went to the school that they were supposed to go to, and
Hmm.
I had a tour and watched a kindergarten class and things like that. And I couldn't see my child just in that like stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight classroom where everybody's kind of doing the same thing and everybody has to be paying attention at the same time, and even if they're not interested in something then they still have to do it. And also having boys, I feel like boys need to move and learn at the same time. And when I went and saw the classrooms for public schools, I just couldn't see an opportunity for them to move and learn. There was just too much sitting still. And
Yeah,
so,
my son would have an insanely hard time if he. I couldn't imagine if he had to sit
yeah,
still all day. Yeah, it would
yeah,
be a disaster. It really would.
yeah. And I think the boys get labeled as being bad kids because they can't sit still when developmentally they can't sit still. So they're put in a situation from a start in which it's hard for them to succeed. And I never really saw that until I started researching schools and going into schools and seeing what it would be like for my child to be in a school.
Yeah, yeah. So, what about curriculums? Do you guys use any curriculums, or if not, how do you go about teaching? The basics, reading, writing, all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I consider myself to be an organized unschooler.
Okay.
So what that means is that I firmly believe in unschooling because I feel like if it's child-led learning and the child is interested in learning the particular subject, then they actually learn the subject and then they're interested in learning the subject.
Hmm.
So I mean, we do a lot of hands-on stuff. Like I don't want to learn about giraffes by reading about giraffes in a book. I want to go to the zoo and see an actual giraffe. And one of the advantages is that we go to a public charter school program that has no classroom time that allows us to pay for classes in the community.
Oh,
So,
that's
for
nice.
example, starting next month, they'll have their science class at the Santa Barbara Zoo every week.
Oh,
So
that's
I
so
think
cool.
that's super cool. They go to the Santa Barbara Zoo, they have their science class in the zoo. They're learning with the stuff exactly there. They see the lions and the eagles and whatever and can look at them while they're learning about them. Plus the zoo is big, so there's tons of movement time. They're just walking around that zoo all the time. Um, and
Cool.
another one of their passions is World War II history.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, I know it seems kind of weird that 7 and 8-year-olds love World War II history, but um, they are obsessed with airplanes for World War II. Here's my son coming
Oh,
to
that's so cool.
show you backwards though in the screen, unfortunately. So
That's cool.
we go to the air museums in Chino. There's 2 really cool airplanes there. We go there frequently. We're members at the local Camarillo Airport Museum that focuses on World War II. So I try to do, and then what he was showing you was an actual manual
Oh,
of
was it?
World War II airplanes. So I mean, they get really technical in their knowledge. I mean, it's amazing. It just I'm like flabbergasted every day what a child's brain can have in their head. Like they know like the ins and outs of all these airplanes and what kind of engines they have and how they're technologically, different from one another. And it
The
just
P-51 Mustang had a Merlin engine.
Oh.
so, so from that perspective, we don't have curriculum per se, but like I'm not afraid to buy curriculum, and particularly for reading and math. Like they're at that phase in their life where they're learning basic math skills and basic reading skills. So I do use Saxon Homeschool Math, for example, because Saxon uses a lot of manipulatives, and I like having the manipulatives for that. Um,
Uh-huh.
and then for reading, I use mostly like Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons or whatever that book is called, and
Yeah.
and then but we don't.
Do you like that book?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do and I don't. It's kind
Yeah.
of when you really believe in unschooling, to have something like so repetitious on the one hand is kind of like an annoying book,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, I think it's working. So my philosophy is like if it's working, keep
Yeah.
doing it.
I mean, it makes sense. I did something similar. It was the something Parents Guide to Teaching Your Child to Read.
Oh yeah, I know that one too.
It
Yeah,
looks really similar, and it was kind of excruciatingly boring for everyone involved. So we got like halfway through, and they pretty
yeah,
much knew how to read. And then I said, okay, well now we're just gonna practice reading every day.
yeah,
So that's where we're at now
yeah,
with that. So with unschooling, a lot of people aren't super familiar, and you did mention about it being child-led, but what it
yeah.
sounds like for people who aren't familiar, it sounds like you're, I don't know, just doing a lot of just fun stuff all the time, but not so much, like school stuff, which
Right.
maybe there's a, so can you just expand on that a little more and kind of explain a little more what it is? Because I know that there's actually pretty awesome outcomes with kids who are unschooled. So I just like you to kind of explain a little
Yeah.
bit about it.
Well, I mean, I think that my main philosophy really goes against the idea of schooling. I mean, the more I homeschool, now my son's in third, so that means I've done kindergarten, first, second, and third grade with him, and
Mm-hmm.
then doing kindergarten first with my second one. And the more I do it, the more I realize that learning is supposed to be fun, so why isn't it fun? Like, if you're
Yeah.
not going to have fun learning, then what's the point of learning? Like, my older son, Tor, he taught himself addition and subtraction. And by the time I got to multiplication, I realized he already knew it. Well,
He
how did he
does.
know it? He learned it from learning all these random things. Like you have to understand math if you want to understand how an airplane engine is put together. If you want to learn how to cook, you have to learn what fractions are about, because what's a half a cup versus a quarter cup versus, a whole cup, or whatever. And so I think that like the public school system has done us a real big disservice by making us think that school has to happen in a regimented way while sitting down and looking to a teacher. And really, learning is everything in everyday life. So, yeah, I mean, I think that like if you're a super regimented person and you don't have your child sitting down for an hour of math, an hour of reading, an hour of social studies, an hour of whatever, then you're probably going to think unschooling is like the worst thing ever and the child's not going to learn anything. But I can tell you right now that like when I was at was it the Midway? What's the Midway?
The one with the
Oh.
cannons?
Oh yeah, the one with the big cannons.
That's the Iowa.
Oh yeah, so when we were at the
Battleship
when we were at the Battleship Iowa,
Uh-huh.
well, my kids are looking around and they are more fascinated and more interested than just about any other child that's there, right? Like they're really like super into it. And then we start talking to a docent, and my 7-year-old starts telling him about how Yamamoto got shot down and how the war ended with like exact details and years and what kind of like boats were around and what kind of ships. And literally
It wasn't just him. It was me too.
It was him too.
I know.
Literally, the guy there was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, how does he know this?" He's like, "Public school group kids come through all the time, and they're all on their phones, and they're not paying attention, and they could care less, and they don't know anything." And I'm sure there are super intelligent public school kids out there. I'm not going to say that's not possible, but what I see a real difference when we're out in the world and having learning experiences, in how much my kids like want to be there and want to know the stuff, and are like just sucking up knowledge and super interested and and engaged, and
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if I took them to some museum they didn't like, they'd be bored out of their mind. I don't know. I mean, I do take them to the museums that interest them,
Yeah.
so that makes a huge difference. But
So do you go regularly? Do you have like kind of like regular outings that you do?
we try to do at least one thing every week. So for a while I implemented field trip Fridays just because it sounded nice, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's got a good ring to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then my husband also really likes to go out and do that kind of stuff too. So we do a lot of stuff on Saturday and Sunday. That's the other thing. Like, school does not have to happen Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3.
Yeah.
It can happen on a Saturday
Like
or
these one kids on
a
the
Sunday.
like the one kids these public school kids were on the island. They were upset because they didn't want to learn because it wasn't a school day.
Uh-huh.
So you can learn whenever you wish.
I know,
we-
right?
Yeah, we met some other kids, and they told their parents that since they were on vacation, they didn't want to learn anything.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
They were
right in
public
front of
school
us.
kids.
That's
So,
so sad.
I know.
And then my brother and me started talking about all this stuff about the Iowa, and then the parents were like looking at their kids like, "That's
Just like that, huh? Cool. Oh, I wanted to ask you, because your charter school situation sounds kind of cool. Which charter is it?
It's Inspire Choice Plus,
Okay.
which is in most counties of California right now.
Okay. Wow.
They have several different programs. They have ones that are more traditional. So if you want to be that kind of homeschool where your kids are regimentedly learning all the various subjects, you can do that. And we do learn all the subjects with Inspire Choice Plus, but like we can do it in the way we want. Like, they let us do unschooling. As long as I cover math, they don't care how I cover math.
Oh,
As long as I cover reading, they don't care how I cover reading. They don't dictate to me at all the
I love
methodology
playing-
that I use.
I love learning math."
good. So yeah, it's interesting that you say that. And I was talking to another homeschool mom one time, and I mentioned that. She said, "What curriculum do you use?" And I said, "Well, I make my own kind of guideline of what we're going to do every week, and then I break it down for every day." And she's like, "Oh, so you're kind of an unschooler." I'm like, "I never really thought of it as an unschooler." I think a lot of unschoolers would take issue with that, because I do make them do things. But it's just interesting, like, when you break down even the word like unschooling, that there's a huge spectrum of what people would consider unschooling and not.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, a traditional unschooler would say you don't force anything on the child at all. And that's why I call myself an organized unschooler, because
Yeah.
I still want my kids to have all of the subjects in their learning life.
Mm-hmm.
I let them pick the focus of that subject. So,
And you let us pick what history we want.
right. So, and their interests change. I mean, when, like, before, everything was about trains. We studied everything about trains
And
known
before
to
that,
mankind.
everything was about cars.
Everything before that was about cars. So,
And
I mean,
before that, chips.
yeah. So in their lifetime, they're gonna get all the subjects. I'm not really worried about it.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I feel kind of the same way about it too, because I definitely want to cover reading, especially in the younger years, learn to read.
Yeah.
I feel good. I feel good about, I cover writing. Like, I kind of make sure it happens. Same with math, but with like history and science, I kind of have a little note to do those things, but I'm not very super specific exactly what science and what history. And we go to the library every week. We get a stack of books, like huge stack of books every week. And I mean, my kids are quite knowledgeable for little kids with various science topics and history topics. And so, I guess I am a little unschooling in that way.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you're right, though. I mean, a traditional unschooler would say I'm not unschooling because of the fact that I do include math.
That Yamamoto, the Japanese admiral during World War II, was killed by a P-38 Lightning.
Very cool. Thank you. So what would kind of a typical day be like? Or if you don't have a typical day, maybe a typical week?
I don't think we have a typical day per se. I just try to do some sort of learning activity every day. So, I mean, I think reading is really important. That's the one thing I try to do more consistently. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I try to, like, for lack of a better word, have a reading lesson at least 3 or 4 times a week because I think that until you're a fluent reader, it's really hard to open up your entire world, you know? So, so like you, I mean, I do science and I do math and history and things like that. But I mean, my number one focus right now in the early years is really just reading.
Yeah.
And that's like me reading out loud to them or putting on books on tape. We do a lot of books on tape.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's them, reading, simple books or from the, 100 lessons book kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
That's
I would
cool.
say there's not really a typical week other than that we do an outside activity every week, whether that be a museum or, something educational, some kind of educational activity like a museum or an exhibit or whatever. And
That's
then
better than me, that's for sure.
and they
It's
do
tiring. That's a lot of work, though, really, when you think about
We
it.
did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a martial art.
So cool.
Which was a copy of it's not Brazilian, it's actually Scottish, and the Scottish copied it from Swedish, Danish, and Norwegian sport
Wow.
of wrestling.
Yep.
I think he's a good ambassador for homeschooling and unschooling.
Yes, my kids are definitely very able to communicate easily.
Well, that's another big thing. People talk about socialization stuff, and we hear it all the time as homeschoolers. But
Yeah.
I find that homeschoolers, by and large, are really good at communicating with anyone. They don't get nervous with adults. There is sort of a subgroup of homeschoolers, I think, who were taken out of school because they were bullied because they were just a little awkward. Some people are a little awkward, and they
Yeah.
were taken out. But they would have been awkward in school or out of school. But I find that most homeschool kids are really good at communicating.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's see. What do you think some of the big benefits, maybe if there's anything you haven't mentioned about homeschooling versus if you weren't homeschooling? Like just like lifestyle things even.
Oh, like for example, we're all night owls. I cannot imagine being at school at 7:55 in the morning. We would all die. Like
Yeah.
it would just it would
We
not
stay up
happen.
till like 11, and then late, in our case, is midnight.
Yeah.
Really? Wow. You guys are night owls.
Well, and another big one is that I don't think that it's beneficial for kids to be with their same peer group all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, when you grow up and you go to work, you're not at work with only 25-year-olds or
Yeah.
only 26-year-olds. Like you have to learn how to communicate with a wide array of different age groups and backgrounds. And so I think that homeschool provides more opportunity for diversity that way.
And are you surprised at how much there is out there? Because I was. I mean, when we first started, I thought, oh God, homeschoolers are all of a certain type, and I'm not that type, and they're all like in Texas and Arkansas somewhere, and there's none of them out here. And I was really, really happy to find out that a lot of my friends were gonna homeschool, like people that I just knew, the little baby mommy group things. So yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised to find that out and how much there is, to do.
Yeah, there is so much to do. In fact, that's why I kind of limit myself to sort of an outing every day, whether it's, we have jiu-jitsu day or we have park day or we have like, Santa Barbara homeschool class day. I don't try to do like, I'm not doing like 15 million activities a day. Like today was piano lessons and guitar lessons.
Yeah.
We go to jiu-jitsu later. So otherwise you would just be so overscheduled.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of a sad thing too, or like kids that are overscheduled. And I see it with a lot of kids in our neighborhood. It's like, it's hard for them just to play.
Yeah.
Like even like an hour, it can be really, really hard because it's like, they come home, first of all, these little kids have been in school all day for like 6 hours. And then God knows what they're doing because then they come home and they have an hour and a half of homework after 6 hours of school.
Right. That's crazy.
And then they have a class and then they have some sort of other thing to do. So it's like, I just want to play for an hour.
Yeah. Well, and that's another benefit is that, my kids get a lot of playtime. And I also think that particularly with, Common Core, everybody loves that word. You know, they're pushing kids in, I think, developmentally inappropriate ways in the younger years.
Yeah.
And they're pushing a lot of logical thinking too soon. And I don't think that that's good for little kids. I think that they need to have more playtime, more movement time. You can learn really good math from playing with Legos. You can learn really neat science things from using, hands-on type experiment kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
um, talk to them for 5 minutes, their vocabulary is intensely high.
Yes, clearly.
Yeah, so I think, and I think that's why the reading levels explode later on with these kids that are unschooled, because they're developing vocabulary on an oral level, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then once they get older, then they already have that vocabulary in their brains, and then it's easy for them to learn that letter or that word. Whereas if you push it too soon and they're not ready for the vocabulary, then they're not ready for the vocabulary from a comprehensive level, like what does this word mean? And they're also not ready for it from just a reading perspective. So they're learning words, but they're not really understanding words, which makes it harder and complicated, I think, to get started.
Yeah, I think moving faster than a kid can go is definitely not a good idea. And such a good thing about homeschooling is you could just go right at their pace and go what do what you think is appropriate, which is why I tell like people, especially when they're new to homeschooling, try not to just look and say, what should a first grader be doing or what should a second grader be doing, but rather, where is my kid and what do they need right now? And I think if you meet them where they're at, you're just going to do so much better. It's the only thing that really makes any sense. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
You're welcome.
And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please check out modernhippiemommy.com. That's Elizabeth's blog. It's an awesome blog, and have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.